This is Lemon's Car Spotting. You post to Instagram with the hashtag Lemon's Car Spotting. We pick the hooptiest.
They are so incredibly terrible.
And which one we want to become a real Lemon's build.
It does car-like things. I've been pushing for one of those in Lemons too, and those are very affordable.
Hey, welcome to Lemon's Car Spotting. I am Eric. That is Nick over there. And we're going to look at some crappy cars as we do every week. Tag your stuff, Lemon's Car Spotting. Lemon's build, hoopty build. Close your eyes, Nick, and tell me when to stop.
Stop.
I think I was like in between there, but Lemon's build is Nick. So
all right.
I will take the hooptiest.
Excellent. I will start us up. Okay. Huh?
Ooh. What is
It's
a car hidden in the? No, it's not hidden in the trees. It is painted. Wow!
Wow!
I love.
Now, was just because the guy that was his parking spot? Well, my parking spot is in the bushes, so I'm just going to embrace it. What is it? A Sable?
That's it's a Sable or a Taurus. I guess it's probably a Sable. I don't know how you'd ever tell them apart in the trees.
Yeah, with a jungle theme on it. I like how they've painted the headlights and taillights. That's really, that's next level art car. Remember one time a buddy of mine was like, "Hey man, what's a Sable?" I was like, "Oh, it's like a Taurus with the freaking light that goes all the way across the front." He's like, "No, the word Sable. What does it mean?" "Oh, yeah, I don't know. It's from Greek mythology or something."
Yeah. It's a big cat of some kind.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. No, I thought it was somebody from the Odyssey that he ran into, living on an island. No, I think you're right. It's
crucially, it was a cast member from the original American Gladiators.
And I was going to say and maybe most notably of all the Sables, it was an American Gladiator.
There you go. So if you decide to run, for example, a Mercury Sable and Lemons, American Gladiators is right there.
Totally. Talk about a made-to-order theme. You could have what other Gladiators?
Nitro. So you could have a Dodge Nitro and a Mercury Sable 2-car team.
Was there a turbo?
There had to have been a turbo. I don't know.
Yeah.
Somebody in the comments just off the top of their head.
Right. List all of the American Gladiators and the Lemon's car that would go with them. It's just such an obvious thing. It's an obvious thing for one car. It's an obvious thing for a 5-car team. Just, make it happen.
Looking directly at 3-pedal mafia. Make it happen.
Somebody who already has 3 or 4 cars in their stable and are good at doing costumes. Wink, wink.
Yeah.
All right. Next up. I was going to say Montego, but I think it's a Milan.
Yeah, this is straight out of the American cars named after places that Americans don't go folder.
Yeah, which I meant to mention last week when we were discussing the Corsica, but yes, this is from that.
Again, I think this is a Taurus or a 500 or whatever, but they're all kind of the same thing.
I thought it was a Fusion, but is it the bigger?
No, I think you're right. I think it is the Fusion variant of that.
The Fusion of this era is really not a bad car. It's just sort of car that does things, on the same spectrum or at least similar as an Accord or Camry, which is high praise. Because General Motors has never been able to solve that. So the fact that Ford was able to do it, and I assume the Mercury version is nicer, right? That was the whole point of Mercury. What was the point of Mercury?
I don't know. I don't know if we'll ever know. Obviously they've been gone for 10 years at this point. 11, I think.
This is the end of this one.
Yeah, this is at the end of Mercury. They were supposed to be between Ford and Lincoln, so they were the mid, but I guess they're probably comparable to Buick if we're talking GM. Just below Lincoln as opposed to, Oldsmobile that was just above Chevy, I guess.
Right.
That makes some sense.
That makes
which
some
it doesn't.
Sense.
My parents have owned a Fusion for probably a decade at this point.
Yeah.
perfectly fine car.
It's a car. It's just I've got family not coincidentally in the Detroit area.
Right.
Fusion. I don't know so many people around here that have them, but I wouldn't knock anybody if they did. The whole discussion. Go ahead.
I was gonna say I think these were the ones you could buy with the 2.5 liter Mazda MZR and a stick shift.
Yes.
Which finding one of those is hard to do, but we had a Lemons rally car that was a Fusion with a 5-speed. So.
Yep. No, I had one as a press car, a 5-speed Fusion with a Mazda 4-cylinder, and I couldn't figure out why it wouldn't start. And it was because I hadn't put the clutch pedal in. I was like, oh God, what is this? Rare classic.
Yeah, man.
So I was thinking back to the whole thing about American cars being named after places where Americans have never been. If you have owned a car named after a location that you've been to, post it down in the comments. I mean, that's like, I'm thinking about it. Like I had a Tacoma. And I've probably been through Tacoma. I don't know if I've ever been to Tacoma. Has anybody? Yeah. I mean, is SeaTac, is that in Tacoma? God, I don't even know. I have flown into SeaTac. So I think I've owned a Tacoma and been to Tacoma. I think that's the only car that I've had that's named after a location. What between the Mazda 3s and the BMW 2002s of the world.
Yeah.
But if you've had a Parasini and been to Paris, let us know.
Or a Bonneville that you've taken to Bonneville.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's a good one. Oh boy. I mean, we're on the Uncle Buck spectrum.
Yeah.
I guess it's an early Grandma Keith.
All right.
I don't know. You tell me.
Sure. At some point, it was the Marquis.
Which, the Marquis.
Just the Marquis for a long time.
Marquis. That maybe makes more sense.
I don't know when the Grand Marquis came in. I assume it was made as like a trim level on the Marquis where you got everything like wheel spats and fake Landau roof and probably a seat which you sat in for several seconds as you sank down towards the floor.
Yeah.
I bet this thing's hella comfy. This is a road trip machine if one ever existed.
Yeah,
as long as you don't mind getting, 7 miles per gallon.
6 miles to the gallon. I was going to say, it's probably got a 460. And they ran out of carport in a hurry, didn't they? It was like, oh, cool. Like, we're going to park the,
well, the good news is
still sticking out. It's like,
for at least part of the day, the entire cabin is in the shade, so they got that going for it.
That's fine.
Yeah.
On the subject of wheel spats, I was reading an article, and Phil, Judge Phil from Lemons, has talked about this a bunch of times. Like the last car to have X, feature that is now completely gone. But things like the tape deck, the 3 on the tree, like things that used to be pseudo common and now are completely gone. I was reading a list of those, and the last car that they listed to have removable wheel spats like this was first generation Honda Insight.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
It's a trick question because you would think it would be something like this.
Yeah.
And it wasn't.
So there you go. 2003, I think was the last year of that.
Great car, by the way. Those things. All right. Next up, we've got front blend. It's a Topaz.
Yeah, I had one of these famously.
I did. You've said that, of course, a million times, and I've always had it in my head as being a Tempo, but it was a Topaz.
Well, I mean, as we discussed, Mercury's placement in the hierarchy of
I didn't give you nearly enough credit. Clearly,
well, it was always nebulous, and the difference between the Topaz and a Tempo. I mean, I don't know how you would ever spot what was upmarket from a Tempo in a Topaz.
Right. Well, and a light that goes all the way to the freaking cross the front.
So, there is that.
Did light up, did it not?
Allegedly, probably for a while. I would guess this example does not have that.
Yeah.
It does have the steering wheel cover, which you need because after about 5 years of existing, that plastic just kind of turns into that sticky disgustingness.
God, our Lemons, we used to have a 2006 Ford cargo van for Lemons, and that thing, like, it sat in the sun all day, and the steering wheel totally disintegrated. And then I realized, my parents' 93 Previa sits in the sun all day, and it doesn't have that problem. Wonder what the difference is.
Nah, you'll never figure it out.
Figure it out. Yeah.
Terrible cars, by the way. Although touted for many reasons, that had fully independent suspension, which was a big deal.
Like an E30.
Like an E30. The aerodynamics were phenomenal for the time. It was like the first teardrop Ford.
It's kind of surprising, looking at it, that's the case. But
yeah. Well, it was what they did was they did this crazy thing, and you're never going to believe this one weird trick where they just had the windshield that wasn't vertical. Is the craziest idea.
Man, turns out that makes a big difference, eh?
Turns out it does, yeah. So it was canted back and had the greenhouse has more curve to the front than it initially looks like. But
neat.
But so they did this, and they got good fuel mileage, had new transaxle, all this stuff. And then the engine that they decided that it needed was a 20-year-old straight six that they lopped 2 cylinders off of and just slapped it in there.
Yeah.
And I've never driven a car with an engine that was so far out of balance just as a natural design.
Yeah.
It was like it being in a paint shaker but it was only a specific 5 mile an hour range from 40 to 45. Right. The whole thing would just.
And this is the late 80s where you could get a Honda Accord with a reasonably smooth 4-cylinder. Yeah. And oh God.
It was just the most malaise era thing that they had gone through all of this engineering trouble to make this. Right. They spent $1 billion building this car, and then they put the stupidest engine in it.
Well, there you go. They almost had it.
They almost had it. Yeah.
Better than Corsica, though, probably. Yeah. Oh, we're back into. Okay, so this is the 4-door version, maybe, of that car that was under the carport earlier. Yeah. So maybe this is the Grand Marquis, the 4-door.
Let's just say yeah. I mean, we're never gonna know.
We don't know.
That's the thing about the 70s is the naming conventions and the trim levels was all just this weird pyramid scheme to not even a pyramid scheme, just a bad marketing scheme to try and get several thousand more dollars out of somebody.
Right. Well, and there are certain cars where people care about the difference between a 911 and a 912, right, is very important, but the cars kind of look the same. And so you're well, hey, is this a 911 or a 912? You need to know. If you see something like this or the carport car, you're just it's a giant land yacht. You don't even care whether it's a Mercury.
No.
It's just, it makes the statement just based on what it is. So you don't really need to know what it's called.
Yeah, I agree.
I will say this one is mint. Wow.
Yeah. Great color, especially for the time. When it's all greens and browns and whites. Like a burgundy, especially with the matching vinyl top. That's hella sweet, man. Yeah.
I think those hubcaps are from a later Mercury, which is kind of interesting because I feel and God, you could tell us in the comments, or a Lincoln Versailles. I feel like they're from an 80s car that was outdated in the 80s, which means if you put them on a 70s car like this, it totally fits. And if anything, makes it look a little bit modern, So, plus subtle white striped tires. This thing's got the whole thing happening. It's pretty sweet.
This is this thing's straight out of Casino. With Robert De Niro. Yeah,
definitely. For sure. Ace Rothstein special.
Yeah.
Oh, God. And at the other end of the spectrum, what is it? A Tracer?
It's a Tracer. So this is the Ford Escort.
Yep.
The notchback one, which is actually kind of a rare body style. I think they made more of the Mercury with that. But this one's got the a million vertical grates on the grill.
Yeah. The sort of slash lines that were cool at the time.
Yeah. Much like the Topaz, you'd be hard pressed to find any way that this is not like just buying a Ford Escort at a 10% markup.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. These are pretty good cars. What do they have? The like 1.9.
So
it was what the Topaz should have had.
Yeah, it is 100%. That's a long story. I'll spare you the details, but as a 1.9 is like 90 horsepower.
Yeah.
But there was a version of the Escort GT had a Mazda BP 1.8 in it, made 130 horsepower, and they put it in some of these is like the Tracer LTZ, I think. You could get them in a sedan, and it would have a spoiler and better wheels. And I don't know. I don't know who in the world would have bought that with a stick shift.
I mean, I guess if you were shopping a Sentra SER and needed a 4-door.
Yeah.
How would you know? See, that's the thing. I mean, this is the problem with Mercury marketing. Like, you accidentally have a good car, right? It's like a small, compact, reasonably sporty car with a good engine. Nobody in the world is going to know, because a 25-year-old kid who's like, I want a Sentra SER, they're not going to be like, but I should drop by the Mercury dealership just to make sure they don't have something for me too. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I mean, Cadillac is facing that problem now,
right?
Where I guess people know about the CTS-V or whatever, the Blackwing that they have now, but it's just an uphill battle against I'm going to get a BMW. Right. So, boy.
Yeah. I mean, this is the classic, kid cruising the strip, and, I can't pull into the gas station and look tough in a Mercury Tracer. This isn't going to happen.
Right. Exactly. I mean, this is probably all things considered kind of a better car than a Mustang. Certainly a better car than a Mustang without the V8. If you have the 4-banger or V6 or whatever Mustang, this is a way better car. But then you're totally well, what kind of car do you drive? Yeah, it's a Mercury. And then Mercury, you're picturing gigantic Tracer, and then you're picturing a Fiesta. So it's just a lose-lose situation for everybody. If you can find one now, bring it to Lemons. Kind of secretly would do well.
I don't know if we ever had one, frankly.
Yeah. Sweet. All right. Now this is the, first of all, what the, is that on top of a car carrier? So this is the same car as a Granada, but it's a Mercury.
I can't hear Granada and not laugh. I don't know why.
Yeah. Speaking of places that American car buyers have never been.
Yeah.
What was the Mercury version of this called?
I just default to Montego for everything, and I don't think that's right.
Wait, where is Montego?
Jamaica, another place.
Oh yeah, that's right. Montego Bay. Yeah, we've had this discussion. Yeah. God, I don't know what this thing was called. Tell us in the comments. It could be a Montego. That sounds right.
Yeah.
4-door edition.
Granada was famously marketed as basically being a Mercedes for a third of the price.
Yeah.
So how would you have what do you do with the Monarch? I think it's Monarch.
Monarch. There you go. Yeah. Got it.
I cheated and read. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. I was going to say it came to you just like that.
No,
wait a minute.
It's in the comments.
Okay.
But if that is your tack for marketing the Granada, how do you even manage?
Yeah, right.
What is
we've taken away? Yeah, we've taken away the reason why you would buy one, which isn't a very good reason to begin with, and then we've taken it away by making it more expensive. I don't know, brand loyalty, I guess. Now we've had one of these in Lemons. Those Cajun dudes that ran in. Was that a Granada? I think it was a Mercury. God, I don't even remember. It was either a Granada or a Mercury. Yeah. Which is a weird platform, right? It's it's not a Fox, right? It's before the Fox.
Not a Panther. It's not a Fox. And it's not any of the older stuff. It was Ford with the clean sheet during the malaise era. It was like, we solved this. We got it all. And they went away. I think the last Granadas were moved to the Fox chassis, maybe, but I don't know. It's definitely an oddball and therefore perfect for Lemons.
Yeah, and therefore the perfect Lemons car. Pretty neat. Okay.
I don't know how that one survived being so mint, but
yeah. Well, it's up high where nobody can reach it. Man. So last week we were talking about the Ford Ka.
Yeah.
And we were saying how that weird sort of whatever they called the styling was in a couple of other cars, and that bad Mercury Cougar from the early 2000s was on the list. And here one is.
Yeah. I mean, this is the classic argument against reviving a nameplate. And I mean, there was a 1 year gap where they went from the MN12 Cougar to this,
right?
But the XR7s of the 60s that raced in Trans Am, their memory was erased.
They're rolling over in their graves,
based on this thing.
Now, what was this car related to? Because there wasn't a Ford equivalent, was there?
It's built on the Montego platform, so it's the Contour and the Mercury Mystique.
Yeah.
Speaking of how do you market the Mercury Mystique?
Well, this would have been. I mean, we're talking about the guy who was shopping for a Sentra, and how would he wind up in a Mercury dealership? Is this somebody shopping for a 240 SX and like, let me make sure Mercury doesn't, or, it's really more similar since it's front wheel drive to like a Ford Probe.
Yeah.
So maybe if you had a Probe, you would go out and get one of these. God. What was the motor even? It was a V6, I think.
Yeah, it was the Duratex. it had 200 horsepower.
That's not terrible. Yeah.
In theory, this was it was trying to capitalize on the tuner car, of the 90s. Yeah, but it's the same problem. Like, if you roll into the gas station on the strip in this, like, people are going to think that you squinted at a Toyota Celica ad, and we're like, nah, this looks like a Cougar.
The only place in the world where your hot stuff pulling up in this thing is Muncie, Indiana.
Yeah, pretty much.
Do not try this in downtown LA.
I've seen these with body kits. Like it was a thing. I'm sure it's not like Wings West that was making body kits for this, but whatever the Muncie equivalent of Wings West is.
It would have been Wings Midwest, I think.
Yeah, that's right.
Where it's just Cavalier and Cougar parts.
Yeah, there's your theme when you bring one of these.
Yeah, it's the Muncie, Indiana version of Fast and Furious, where it's Wings Midwest. It's so easy to write itself. And Vin Diesel, instead of being like a cool shop guy who has a criminal enterprise on the side, you're like a middle manager at a concrete plant. Yeah, with a polo shirt.
Yeah,
your scam, instead of highway hijackings, is like some form of mild tax evasion through your business.
Yeah. Quick, we have to get to the next railroad crossing before the train, because I have to get pictures of it.
Oh boy! Oh God! What a great idea! We're just full of great ideas over here.
Yeah, this is our brainstorming session for everything.
We've had one of these racing Lemons, and I remember it was kind of early on. It was early on in the days of Lemon social media, which is like it was probably 2010 when we got our first Facebook account. And it was like the original Why You Ruin classic. It was a guy like, oh, that poor Cougar. And like, even then, when it was like an 8-year-old car, it was like, nobody is trying to save a 2001 Cougar. Oh God.
No. Man, weird things.
Man, Wings Midwest. What a great idea. All right. Yeah. Back into Gigantor territory. Oh man, what is it?
I think this actually is a Montego.
Okay, so this is like a real Montego.
I think.
God, this
late-
thing's cool, sort of.
Yeah.
2-door vinyl. I mean, the slot mags and the white walls really make it.
Yeah. White walls look homemade. I'm gonna go
Yeah, it does. There's some overspray. It's not even overspray. It's like they drove it before it was dry. So,
man. But it's got the bulging fender.
yeah. Yeah.
This has to be like early 70s before they put the big prow nose on the
And
Mercury.
it's still got chrome bumpers. Yeah.
Definitely had a Landau roof at some point too.
Uh-huh. Yeah,
several years ago.
I don't know if I've seen this. I mean, it reminds me of like, the people are going to be mad, but the Pontiac GTO is what I was thinking. But like, the crappy or whatever, the Tempest version or two-door Le Mans or whatever. So, kind of cool.
Legitimately cool. Would love to see one of those.
All right. Last car of the week.
Oh, man.
Now, this brings back the whole discussion of if you're the Nissan SER buyer and
Right.
you want to go into a Mercury dealership and see what they've got for you. This is the car that would like, all right, I want a SER for my sporty car, but I also need a family car and I'll get a Nissan Quest. Oh, wait a minute. That's the thing. It's like instead of having a Quest and an SER, you have a Tracer LTZ or whatever it's called, and a Mercury Villager.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, you're living life. I mean, this is the actual Nissan Mercury crossover.
Yep.
It's got the VG33 V6 in it.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Just like a
GTR? Let's say GTR.
Yeah, I was going to say
Basically
Maxima,
GTR.
but sure. So this has some kind of package. I know there was a Nautica package. I don't think this is it.
There was this thing. It says estate. If I'm reading that right. So there was an estate. There was a Nautica. There was a Sport. And there was some. Which one of them had a gold trim besides the Nautica?
Yeah.
And again, what are you paying extra for at that point? I don't know.
Well, and it's always a bad sign when you have one car and there's a version of it that's a sport version, and then there's the version of it that's built for like somebody who's 130 years old, where it's all tan with gold accents.
Yeah.
And it's like, you need to decide which one your car is and stick with that, and just don't make the second version, because then that just confuses everybody.
The most confusing part about this car is that Ford had an existing modern-ish looking minivan at the time,
Right?
In the Windstar, which, fine. You can dunk on the Windstar all day.
Yeah. No, the Windstar's a bad car, but just product planning and marketing wise.
Right. And they decided that they were going to build a Mercury minivan based on a Nissan, or with a partnership with Nissan.
Why? It doesn't make any sense. Although, I mean, this is smaller than a Windstar, so depending on your use, that could be a downside. Otherwise, this is like a way better vehicle.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
so,
100%. Boy, I don't know. I feel like we missed something this week.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, cars were kind of all over the map. You've got the hooptiest. What do you got?
I'm going to go with the car that, for reasons we outline, even though it is not in poor condition, probably was the hooptiest to come straight out of the factory, because who the hell was it for? With the bright yellow Wings Midwest Mercury Cougar. Just a totally puzzling car to try to shove Mercury into the 90s Japanese car tuner craze. Fundamentally horrible idea.
Yeah. I mean, the idea itself is like, Honda wasn't sitting over there like, we need to get into the land yacht business. So, I mean, just, why?
It's kind of like Oldsmobile building the Aurora, with the curves, and being like, well, if we build this, obviously our customer base is going to change. And it just,
I thought you
Doesn't
were going
work
to say
that way.
Achieva SCX.
Well, nobody aspires to be that amazing, frankly.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
All right, for the lemons build, boy. I mean, the natural tendency is to go for a land yacht, and there were 3 of them. A Keith, a Grandma Keith, and a Montego, and a Monarch.
Yeah. Oof.
I think, boy, it's going to be one of those. I'm going with the Montego because, I mean, we like old cars and lemons, and this one could be made to look like a super tough sort of NASCAR inspired. I mean, you can leave these wheels on it, put some raised white letters on it. It would look super cool on a racetrack.
Yep.
So yeah, and obviously never seen one before in lemons. So that's my pick.
Yeah, throw a chin spoiler on it and the Talladega wing, and suddenly you've got all of the 1970s NASCAR going on. So
yep, indeed. All right, well, you're God, so many good ideas. I mean, even though this is my lemons build, I think what I really want to see is the Wings Midwest theme.
Yeah, I think.
What if Fast and Furious took place in Muncie? That's your assignment. But until then, keep tagging your photos with Lemons Car Spotting. Post them on Instagram. We'll see them. We'll talk about them, and be dumb and make mistakes. That's what we do here. See you next week. Oh, man. I mean, this thing has literally nothing in common with anything else that was posted this week. So, pretty cool.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a great retrograde Mercury.